We need a superhero CRPG. Is that too hard to ask? I know, there's a ton of superhero games that are out there, such as Infamous or Freedom Force or any of the plethora of Marvel or DC video games. Only some of these are games that have player-made characters, such as City of Heroes or Champions Online. We haven't had a real superhero game where the character is wholly created in a particular role in a modern day setting where they're uniquely powered and handled to face off against large-scale disasters, enhanced criminals, alien invaders, giant monsters, or superpowered villains. My name is Red Joy, and I have been pining, begging for such a game to exist. I've been dreaming for a game that allows for me to create a character who will become a superhero in a modern day setting. Well, a good game with character interactability, a solid single player experience anyway. I suppose I should say that we need a new superhero RPG. With that, there are many games out there that you can play as superheroes in various worlds, but many of these aren't actually CRPGs. The Arkham Asylum games and the Spider-Man games are superhero games, but they aren't really RPGs. It takes way more than just a few scales of specific powers or different play styles to make an actual CRPG. The same thing can be said about Infamous, Parasite, Capes, or even Freedom Force. There's no real role for the player to be a character in that world. Yes, in some of these games, like Freedom Force, you can actually create your own hero, but the customized characters are silent and completely unimpactful on the story. I do believe that Marvel came kinda close with the game Midnight Suns, with creating the character of the Hunter, but the character, to me, when I've seen gameplay, it seems robotic. He seems like, not really there and almost as just a stand-in for random Joe. I will give it credit for trying to have the character build relationships with the other Marvel Comics characters, but you're not really creating a fully customized character. What choices do you have in the Hunter's background or life choices? You may disagree or agree. Feel free to leave a comment below. Now, games like City of Heroes, DC Universe Online, and Champions Online, they're really quite good at creating characters. They have a lot of flexibility in not just what your character looks like, but what their powers are and how the character uses their powers. Not only that, but what their powers look like. But these games have the problem that the players don't have any impact on the world around them. They have no choice in conversations or in their morality. Champions did allow for players to create their superhero's nemesis, which is actually kind of a cool idea, but there's no real weight behind it outside of a couple specific missions. I do love these games, but they don't quite scratch the itch that I have for a superhero RPG. Okay, enough of me being a spoiled brat. What do we want, or what do we need in a superhero RPG? First off, a robust character creation system is absolutely key, but I'm also willing to accept a system that needs to scale down the massive options that presented in games like City of Heroes or Champions Online in order to allow for the hero to really fit in the world that they're playing in. However, a unique feature that can and really should be implemented is designing not just the costume of the character, but also their secret identity. Who are they underneath the mask? This really needs to have both the Spider-Man character and the Peter Parker character, and how they both interact with the worlds around them. This is sorely lacking from almost any superhero games, and it's completely missing from superhero CRPGs. An interesting example of how a game tries to implement a secret identity is one of my personal favorites, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. You can't go around telling everyone that you're a vampire, or you're a member of this vampire society, unless that person that they're talking to are also kindred who are a part of that vampire society. And if you blather around about your undead existence or show off your vampiric powers out in public, it hurts you in the game. You actually violate something called the Masquerade, and if you score too lowly in Masquerade points, you actually will lose the game. If you go and use your powers wildly, you could get yourself killed. And that's maybe a little bit of an extreme example, a little bit of a cold example, but that's the kind of thing that should have a big impact on what the story of the superhero character should be seen. If you, for example, were to tell your boss at your day job that you're a superhero, they may think that you're crazy, or they may use that against you, or even fire you for, some reason. It could hurt your character in the game. It could impact, for example, their budgeting for repairing their costume, or for living their ordinary life and kind of driving them crazy. If you show your powers off in public, maybe the public will turn against you, and maybe they'll actually send the police to shoot at you, or a mob will come and just start beating you up. Your villains that come after you might attack your friends and family, who may also have issues if you try to reveal your secret identity to them. A secret identity mechanic adds a whole second mode of gameplay that would bring a bunch of unique challenges and choices of how the player interacts with their character. So another component that should be in a superhero CRPG is how their character comes about in their origin. Now, to be fair, there are many games and CRPGs that I love that don't really carry this out in a meaningful, impactful way. A big example is probably the game I comment the most on in my channel, the original Baldur's Gate series. You have one origin. You start at Candlekeep and you're Gorion's ward. That's it. There's not much there, and you're fairly limited on how your background impacts the rest of the game, but it is there. Another one of my favorites that does capture this is Dragon Age Origins, and to be fair, Inquisition does this as well, where you choose a backstory limited only by race and class, and this backstory impacts how you are seen and how you will act throughout the rest of the story. Every human noble loves wrecking Arl Howe and Denerim, and every mage has to deal with Jowen in their story. This doesn't even need to be a whole flushed out separate scenario. The openings to Fallout 3 and 4 give backstory going in and living in the vault, along with the choices that you make that stick with your character, but it is there and it is impacting the rest of the story. A superhero CRPG absolutely needs this. Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, Bruce Wayne, and Barry Allen were all born as ordinary guys, and they were shaped by their backgrounds that gave them their abilities. The X-Men and Superman had to each learn how to use their inherent powers safely in society. Wonder Woman and Thor had to figure out how to help humanity, even though they came from the outside and they have enough power to just conquer everything. And Peter Parker had to learn that with his great powers came the responsibility of using them to help others. More than any other piece of fiction, superheroes are tightly connected to where they came from and to the pieces of their lives that they had before putting on the mask. This is absolutely essential for any superhero CRPG. So the final big piece I would say that a superhero CRPG needs to incorporate is that their characters' actions need to have impact on the world around them. Games like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, the Fallout series, and the Baldur's Gate series all make the characters and make the players feel like they are shaping their world. This is sorely lacking in the superhero CRPGs that are available today. Sure, superhero games will sometimes incorporate various endings based off of the choices that are made by the heroes in their games. For example, Marvel Ultimate Alliance would have different endings and different outcomes if you, for example, saved Nightcrawler in Hell versus saving Jean Grey in Hell. And saved one of them and left the other to die. It had a big impact at the end of the game. But I'd like to see my character make that choice. I'd like to see my character as an advocate for myself make that choice rather than Captain America or the Hulk make that choice for me. For example, imagine if your superhero character was stopping a terrorist plot with the help of a team of other superheroes and other characters. You are in a position to either stop the big bad leader of the evil group that maybe has some connection to your past, and maybe you're getting revenge or trying to seek his redemption, or to cripple the group by stopping their plot and beating their army in order to save your loved ones at home. Not only are you making that choice, but you're also making a lot of other choices and consequences that are involved with the mission. Maybe one of the heroes that you're working with had to be left behind and they survived only to become a villain and maybe even the new leader of this group due to your betrayal and your abandonment of them. Maybe the big bad boss reveals some new truth about your background and your story that you could choose to actually join them, or you could choose to, after you defeat them, take over the terrorist group. Maybe you realize that they weren't quite as evil as you had originally thought. Maybe whatever choice you choose will succeed, but the other option will be a horrible set of consequences. This is all a really big deal, and it's nothing that's really too foreign. We've seen this sort of thing in Fallout, in KOTOR, in the Mass Effect series. This is not something that is a strange thing to do in CRPGs. The entire point of being a hero is to make an impact on the world around them. As much as I love running around beating up Hellion thugs around Atlas City in City of Heroes, there's never an end to it. The farming mechanics in the early game, it's a way to build your character's experience points up, but it makes the hero's work essentially pointless in that first area. There are a ton of different mechanics that one can use when they're making this game. Combat can be turn-based, it can be strategic turn-based, it can be real-time with pause, it could be action-based real-time. Travel and exploration can be done either with the phenomenal powers that the character has, or with vehicles, or hell, even public transportation. Missions and cases can be investigated to help the characters gain more experience and gain more power. Their power range can range from being street-level heroes such as Daredevil, Green Arrow, or Batman, to being more global heroes like Wonder Woman, Iron Man, and Batman, and maybe even allowing your character to become a paragon of their world like Thor, or Superman, or Batman. A hero's growth is a big deal for such a game, and gaining new powers, or just having their existing or unique powers become dramatically more powerful, is an important part of the game. However, a character's power should also be in the connections that they make with the world around them, either as a hero, a flawed hero, an anti-villain, an anti-hero, or maybe even a villain. Such a game should incorporate a robust character design, secret identity mechanic, influence from a character's background, and the impactful choices that will change the story and the world around them. I certainly can't imagine this would be an easy game to make. There's a lot to balance, while I would also try to decide what mechanics to include and what story would actually be. I didn't even touch on how power, skills, and abilities would work. Personally, I think the Savage Soul system gives a really great framework to how it could work, but I also could see a modified version of GURPS or D&D being used to allow for the building of everything from the White Queen to Wonder Woman to Batman. I certainly hope that we would see such a superhero CRPG sometime in my lifetime, but considering the current world of game development and marketing, I'm not holding my breath. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, agreed, disagreed, or hated everything that I said, feel free to check out my channel where I play old games badly. For now, take care and good luck. We're all counting on you.